Oop, need that background. There it is.
Oh,
well, here we go. That's right. Hey, man, you're looking pretty. You got some good arm action going on right there.
Oh yeah, I mean, like guns.
Showing that. And I got shorts on, which I was like, that's cool. It's fine. Yeah, I like it. And thank you to Mask of Shy Alessandro for providing those drawings. He did an awesome job as per usual. He also did the animated little part too, and then I just kind of pieced it together and got some somewhat similar music for that's similar to Batman the Animated Series. But anyways, guys, welcome to the very first Batman the Fan-imated stream. Of course, I am Dave the Film Junkie, and of course, here's my partner, Mr. Scott McClellan. What's up, sir? It's like I just saw you.
I know, right? It's so weird, but it is unreal how enthusiastic I am about doing this. And when you asked me to do it, I was just like, oh, yes.
Yeah,
I was made for this.
Yeah, well, it was funny because basically how this show came to be was obviously when Batman the Animated Series showed up on HBO Max. It was just one of those things that I'm like, all right, I'm having that on as I work, or before I go to bed, I'll just fire up some episodes or whatnot. It's just right there. And then I think it was on a Saturday or Sunday where I just kind of went, and I will say I found like I had inspiration from BVS by the Minute, to be honest, because I love the fact that they were breaking something down that's awesome in like little chunks, brick by brick. And I always wanted to have something where I was like in the vein of that. And then it just hit me where I was like, I want to talk about these episodes. They're so goddamn good, revisiting them again. And then the first person I thought of was you. Yes.
I have talked about this show over the last 5 years of podcasting.
Yeah.
An unhealthy amount. It's like anytime someone wants to talk about Batman the Animated Series, it's like, we need Scott. Where's Scott? It's like, I don't know how I gained this reputation, but I have.
Yeah.
And so here I am again.
There it is. I mean, you were the first one I thought about. I think your response was like either a hell yeah or a fuck yeah. I think it might have been the F-bomb. It was one of the things, like one of that. And I knew, I was like, all right, that's it. And then this was probably like at the beginning of the year, I would think that happened, or maybe it was the end of, I can't even remember when.
I can't even remember either, because honestly, we've been cooking this up for a while.
Yeah, it might have been the end of last year. And I think it was just, I didn't want to rush into it because all the other live streams that I do, jeez. And then of course you're busy too. And then I just didn't want to rush into it, especially with all Zack Snyder's Justice League stuff coming out. I knew it was going to be a crazy February and March, and it definitely was. And now that things are, kind of winding down, and we're just waiting for the numbers.
And you still can't see the numbers.
But, so I thought, okay, after everything's calmed down, this is when we'll start doing this. And yeah, so pretty much what we're going to be doing, guys, you guys already know. Today we're just going to do an introduction, kind of talk about the show, how it came to be, and talk about that iconic opening that if you skip that when you watch an episode, you're not a true fan.
No, get out of here with that. No,
burn your shirts, burn your underwear, every Batman thing you own, because you have to watch the beginning all the time. Anytime that Warner Brothers emblem turns into one of the blimps, or what do they call them? Zeppelins. Yes. Well, you have to see that. It's just all part of the experience. So just letting you guys know now. If you skip that, you just turn us off right now. We don't want you. We don't want you in the Snapchat in the chat. All right, we got Jess here. What's going on, guys?
Hey, Jess.
Doing? Let's see who else is here. We got Mattia, of course. And there we go, Mattia. Yeah, everybody's saying hi to Will. I'm like, what? We're not Will. But so what I love about the chat, everybody knows each other. Everybody knows each other's names. Like, hey, Scott, hey, Jess. Yeah,
people have been camping out for the last 2 or 3 hours. It's been 5 or 6 waiting since 6 o'clock or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, people. I mean, everywhere we posted, they're like, "Oh man, it's an excuse for me to revisit the series." It's like, yeah, please do.
Yeah.
It
Who needs an excuse?
Yeah, and I can't wait. I mean, I revisited it when it showed up on HBO Max. Now I'm happy to revisit it once again. Jeez, nothing wrong with that. I mean, we're gonna go all the way through to, and then who knows? I mean. Well, we're gonna try to do this once a week. Maybe every now and again, there might not get to it on a weekend because we do have lives and stuff like that. So that does happen. We're gonna try to mainly do this on Saturday, and probably around this time. I think we kind of agreed was probably the best time, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So but if something happens where an event is going on, then we might end up skipping a week. But we'll try to do the best we can, and then we'll also have. I mean, each one is going to be, each episode is going to be labeled, of course, the episode that we're reviewing, and that's going to be cool because we'll use those awesome title cards, which it's just one of the best features about this freaking show. And I love the fact that, and there's a pretty cool documentary that's actually on YouTube right now. I was just actually looking over it. It's on Warner Brothers Entertainment channel called The Heart of Batman Documentary. The Heart of Batman Documentary, Batman the Animated Series. If you guys haven't watched it yet, do yourselves a favor if you want to get more information, more in-depth information about the show and how it came to be and everything that just kind of came together quite nicely, which, we got Bruce Timm, we got Eric Radomski. Did I say his name right?
Radomski.
Radomski. Yes. I knew I kind of probably said it wrong. And that's where it just kind of came to be.
And Jean McCurdy, we can't leave her out.
She was the president of Warner Brothers Animation at the time, correct?
Not the time. She retired. Okay. She retired the president. That was the cool thing. She talked about she started as a secretary, retired the president. She was an executive producer on Tiny Toons.
That's right.
When they brought her on, when she was kind of the head of the animation studio to say, okay, we're going to do this Batman thing. And she was one who basically picked Bruce Timm and Eric Radomski and said, I need you, basically they were working on things independently. And she was the one who said, okay, you two, get together,
make something,
make something.
Together. And it's funny too, because I think when people look at like Batman the Animated Series and how it's drawn and everything, I mean, a lot of parallels to the Fleischer Superman series. Did I say his name right? Probably not.
Fleischer, yes.
Fleischer. See, this is why you're here, Scott, to correct my my bad pronouncing.
Just don't do names. Just stop right before the name, and I'll jump in, and just insert the name, and we can move on. It'd be great.
That's two. I went tomato instead of tomato. Damn it. But I mean, it's funny because but going back to that, and that's pretty much, if you watch that documentary, that's what they say. They were trying not to do that, but they ended up just going, okay, it's gonna be that kind of, that kind of animation, that kind of style.
Well, why not? The
Fleischer so good.
Those are so good.
Yes, exactly. There's nothing wrong with that. The fact that they were trying to not do that at first, I mean, it was just meant to be to do that. And then, of course, when they start, Bruce Timm and they start doing the animations. I mean, it's kind of funny too, because I always, I wasn't like a huge Space Ghost fan, but Space Ghost Coast to Coast. And I always saw the similarities on how Space Ghost was drawn and how the people were drawn in the animated series. Did you ever get into Space Ghost?
No, I never did. I was familiar with Space Ghost Coast to Coast. I thought it was an interesting concept.
It was funny.
But it was also, I think it was on cable.
Yeah.
And I didn't have cable growing up, so I couldn't watch it.
Yeah. But yeah, you could just see I always saw the correlation between how those characters were drawn and
eyes.
And apparently, according to Bruce Timm, he said that he just kind of had him in the back of his head and everything, just that kind of design concept. And you can really see it. You can see that inspiration. There's just the way that this, it's just, God, the way it's drawn, it's so simplified too. It's not all you see every rippling muscle. It's just kind of just like a little definition, and just the way that, specifically Batman. I mean, you could of course put have him have a 10-pack, abs up to his freaking chin, but it's kind of just like a simplified animation.
I think that was the beauty of, though, is that you had it. This was born out of animators. So animators and artists are going to know how to design it for their medium and how to make it work for their medium. And another thing that documentary really pointed out was the fact that Radomski and Bruce Timm, they were in their 20s at the time.
They were children. They were kids.
They were kids. And then that was the funny thing when you bring in Alan Burnett as sort of the grizzled veteran, going all the way back to Hanna-Barbera and Super Friends. I didn't know that until I watched the documentary. It was Alan Burnett worked on Super Friends?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. And then, I still remember, I even brought up a little an old promo too, which is this will take you right back, Scott, going back to when it was on Fox Kids. Everybody, back in our day when we were kids, we were Fox Kids. I mean, look at this promo right here.
Yeah, the Gotham Globe. Oh God, because I remember these would air at the end. Like
Mhm.
instead, like the credits would be like over here. Like you got this because when this show aired in my market, and I've actually gotten into some arguments with people, and it's funny because like when I know something, oh no, I will plant my flag. I'm like, no, you're not. I know I'm right on this.
Right.
Don't try it. Because this was in my market, this was not a Saturday morning cartoon. It
Yeah.
was a after
After
school.
school. Yeah.
So you're getting this 5 days a week. I
Mhm.
mean, when you think about this original run was like 84 episodes,
Wow, it's insane.
70 of which were the afternoons, and then the last batch was when they did move it to being a Saturday morning cartoon. And they also changed the title to like The Adventures of Batman and Robin. That was the shift. But when it was technically Batman the Animated Series, I mean, you were getting one like Monday through Friday, and so like and you would get those cool
viewing.
It
was appointment
was
viewing for me and my dad. Yeah.
All I knew is that my mom had to get me in carpool from middle school, and it was like, no, we have to get home. It was like, for me, it was like 4:00.
Yeah.
So there was just enough time to pick me up, pick up my sister, and get home, because there's no DVRs. There is, if you miss it, you missed it.
Yeah. Maybe you'll catch a rerun. No, but you got to remember, at that time I was living in Alabama, so I was right there with you. So yeah, it was appointment viewing, like I said, for me and my dad. And it really, and as much as like I collected like the comic books, it just, I don't know, it just brought a whole new life into the character, and just you just got more love of the character. I had the figurines, the comic books that came out were just essentially just called like The Adventures of Batman or something like that, or Batman.
The Batman Adventures.
Yes,
that was the tie-in comic, because I still kick myself that I did not buy when it was just cover price on a spinning rack at the drugstore. Batman Adventures number 12, because that is the first appearance ever of Harley Quinn.
Ah, that's right. That's right.
So that sucker is like, I own it now, but it would have been nice to own it, then when it was.
And I'm gonna have to dig through my old books, because I wonder if I have that issue. I probably do. But yeah, that's another thing is Harley Quinn was birthed out of this series and into our lives, and it's crazy to think that they created this character. And now they want to. She's basically leading a franchise, movie franchise. Isn't that crazy?
It's amazing. Well, but just think about this cartoon series. What it did. I mean, you got Harley Quinn, you got Renee Montoya. She was created for this series, and basically Mr. Freeze as we know him today. Which, okay, this is something I did learn by watching Heart of Batman that I did not know. Paul Dini's first script
was the Heart of
Ice episode.
It's like, what? That was your first go at it? They just said, hey, try it out. And he created an outline for it, and they just immediately all right, let's just do it. And I mean, it is arguably considered one of the best episodes of the entire series.
It won an Emmy.
I mean, like, what? How do you get better than that?
And that's another thing about this. It's something I really didn't realize when I was a kid, was just this thing was winning award, like legit. I mean, either like Heart of Ice won for writing, other episodes, because they would randomly, and I would miss these a lot of times, they would do those random Sunday night airings.
Yes.
And which would qualify them for primetime Emmy Awards instead of daytime Emmy Awards. And so things like Robin's Reckoning Part 1 won a primetime Emmy Award for excellent children's programming or something. And it's just like, dang, this show is good.
It's something you don't really, like you said, as a kid, you just want to get home and watch, which villain's going to show up this time. But you didn't realize, and until just looking into it and looking at all the episodes and everything, you didn't realize that, this was an award-winning animated series. That's how fucking good it is. That's why we're talking about it right now. For God's sake.
It's also one that, when you talked about how it holds up and how it's so rewatchable, it's because, well, one, the creators knew they were trying to finally do something for tweens, but also something that would appeal to adults. And the thing is that I have gone back in my many times of watching the show, and there'd be episodes that I go, that's what that episode was about.
Yeah. That's what's so great about revisiting this as an adult. You go, wait a minute, this hits differently. Wait a minute, I see what was going on here.
And you're like, dang. I'm not, and I just go, I watched this as a kid. They literally would not allow a cartoon like this to be made today. There would be so many people. There were people crying then. The only difference was everyone was kind of in their corner.
Exactly. No social media.
Right. There was no social media, and you had a standards and practices person at Fox that was like, let me do a thing. Try this. Like, if we can get away with, if we don't do this, we can get away with this. And it was amazing to think that it just all the stars aligned to allow this show to be what it was.
Appreciates Bruce Timm and his Hey,
what's
wrong with that?
No, but it's also the fact that something else that I don't know if I truly realized until I watched that documentary was they were intentionally. I'd heard the fact that they try to make every episode like a mini movie. Like that was. That was perfectly clear.
You got Shirley Walker who's composing every episode. I mean, it's not like they were just recycling. You do little bits here and here, and then you just recycle them through the whole series. Each show had like a live orchestra, and you hear it too. You hear like a different, you hear like the similar, score, but then you'll hear like different one. I mean, I think one of what's the Joker episode where with all the laughing fish and the dumpster.
It's called It's the Laughing Fish.
That's right. That has a very distinct score. There's like
that one is you're talking about the April Fool's Day episode.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah. Okay, I know which one you're. Yeah, see, that's the thing. I'm talking about the one where it had all the garbage in the and it was just like all wafting through the city, and everybody just starts laughing hysterically. And somehow Joker had like a robotic, like a big, huge clown bouncer dude. Love that episode. Yes. But it had a very distinct score to it. Like it almost like it was just like a joke. It was a full-on Joker score, I guess you could say. But that's what was so unique about it too, is the fact that they had full-on. Every episode was composed.
Well, and the fact that the orchestra had. This was a day job for Los Angeles Philharmonic musicians. Like people who played at the Philharmonic are playing on the soundtrack for Batman the Animated Series. And those scores are amazing. You can stream them now like on Apple or any place. I did get I have the physical CDs that La La Land Records did because that Shirley Walker worked with Tim Burton. Like she that's and kind Danny of
Elfman.
Oh, that's what I meant. I meant Danny Elfman. But her rearrangement of Elfman's theme is still, I prefer the version that plays over that intro versus the version that Elfman actually wrote for the Burton movie. There's something a little bit more streamlined and simplified about it that just really pops. And I mean, hats off to Shirley Walker. I mean, the series would not be what it was if not for the fact that every single episode was individually scored. Nothing was recycled. Themes were reused, but every episode had its own soundtrack, and it pays off.
It really did. And then a lot of people don't even realize too that. It's just Elfman's score at the beginning. It's like, no, it's a version of that.
Mm-hmm.
She just kind of took it. I mean, if you compare it, you can hear it's hard to like, when you're just watching it, you hear dan, 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 dan. You just hear that and you automatically think, oh yeah, it's just Elfman's score. But no, it's a variation, and she fucking knocked it out of the park. Man, I tell you what, and some people don't even realize too is, when they got approached to do this, I mean, they had to pretty much pitch it, and here's a little video right here. I don't think we'll play any audio just to be on the safe side, but you have this little pitch right here that they did, which I thought was pretty cool, which is essentially the opening. They ended up turning this into the intro, but you could actually find this online too, where it's like the original pencil drawings that are intertwined with actual animation in here too. I don't
Yeah.
have you seen this, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and if you actually skip to the head, because this is actually a special feature that was originally included on the first DVD box set that was released in 2004.
Yeah.
And you actually see the finished thing, and it's amazing. Like, this was literally just, they had 6 to 7 weeks, and
so there it is right here.
There it is right there, and this
Yeah.
is all Bruce Timm and Eric Radomski just saying, "Here's our idea," and it's amazing to go, and then they just turn this into an opening title sequence.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, the title Batman never appears during the opening title sequence, because their point was,
everybody knows who
who needs that? Who doesn't know this is Batman?
So I love the fact that Gordon is actually in this little pitch too. They have Gordon in here too, so that was cool.
And look, the designs practically stayed the same.
Yeah, it didn't really. I mean, yeah, they polished them up a little bit, but that's about it. It's crazy.
And it's so weird to me to think that, honestly, based on what they were saying, especially what Gene McCurdy was saying, we have Steven Spielberg to thank for this.
Yes. Yeah. If you guys didn't know, this is like when it came to a lot of this. Yeah. Steven Spielberg. You could thank Steven Spielberg for this show and how they went at it. I remember one of the parts in the documentary, they talk about going back to the score. It was him that was kind of, when it came to Tiny Toons, it was like, no, don't just like record something and then reuse it. No, every episode has to have like its own thing. So they took that approach with Batman as well, with Batman the Animated Series.
Because they had the budgets, because basically Warner Brothers Television Animation they said, we don't care if we lose money. We don't care if it does well. Does it make Steven happy? So they'd already put all this investment when they were making Tiny Toon Adventures, that then they just basically took the machine that had been built and just rolled it into Batman the Animated Series. And then, of course, Steven Spielberg was still involved because Animaniacs was coming out at the same time. Right. So basically, they just had all the resources for the studio thanks to Spielberg. And then Batman the Animated Series was like, we'll take one of those and we'll take one of those. I mean, Eric Radomski was a background artist for Tiny Toons. Bruce Timm was a storyboard artist for Tiny Toons. Paul Dini, who they eventually got, was writing on Tiny Toons. So basically, they just plucked them all out.
Yeah, Bruce Timm also worked on Ghostbusters, right? Didn't you also work on the Real Ghostbusters? I think so. I thought I heard that too.
I don't remember that part, because I know he'd come out of like working at the Don Bluth studio. So he had learned some tricks from there. But once again, it's the fact you just had people who either knew what they were doing or were young enough to not care and willing to try something different. Like Alan Burnett as a writer was like, I just need a show that lets me have fist fights and gunshots. Like, can I finally have fist fights and something like that? Because for so long, cartoons had been so neutered that they couldn't get away with any of this. And finally, and I have always heard this because I've listened to the commentaries on all these episodes, and there's an excellent book that I would recommend picking up. It's called Batman Animated. It's written by Paul Dini. It's designed by Chip Kidd. It's basically like a personal history of the series. There are storyboards in here. There's an episode guide. There's even a fold-out page with all the title cards, because that's one thing they need to sell. I need a giant coffee table art book of all those title cards.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get that book. I'm pretty sure I can find it on Amazon or somewhere. But yeah. I mean, talking about those title cards, I mean, that was something that's almost like the cherry on top, because they had the show all going, and then it's like, well, let's just open it up with like this very noirish, title cards. And I mean, the title cards, that's what we're going to be using that's what I'm going to be using as thumbnails, is hopefully I can find the title cards for every episode that we're doing, and just use that as like, and then of course put us in there somewhere. But yeah, those title cards, I think one of my favorite ones is of course the Two-Face one, and just the way the lighting is, the contrast, and what it looks like, and you see his thumb up, and it's very minimal, and you can just tell. Yes. And God, so that's one of the things too, is even when you watch that documentary, when they talk about drawing, they talk about the high contrast and make the shadows black, utilize that. And that's all throughout the show. There's so many good shots in here. I mean, I remember posted one, I don't know, a few months ago on Twitter, it was just such a great shot where Batman's outside I forgot which episode it was, and it's raining, and then all of a sudden the lightning just goes. You just see his eyes in silhouette when the lightning just flickers on, and I'm like, that's how do you draw that?
Well, and and of course, everyone talks about, because this was something that Eric Radomski, pioneered, was the idea: how do we get it so dark? Well, we just do it on black paper and then paint the colors on top of it, and then the black paper will mute the colors for us, because it would be so much work to try to draw it that dark.
Yeah.
And when you're going for noir, when you're going for the fact of blacks, whites, shadows, I mean, this show, like, the episodes that maybe don't work as well in this series are the ones that don't have those kind of shadows, like that don't have the fact that, like, he just, like, my favorite thing is when he's like standing in Gordon's office and you don't know he's there, and all of a sudden, the eyes just open and he just walks out of the shadow,
and you just see that silhouette. I know, that's what's so beautiful about this. I mean, you haven't seen, and then it just seems like this almost became like the standard when it comes to was Batman done right? Everybody just refers back to like Batman the Animated Series, which they should. They should.
Here's the thing about this series. Everything that I came to know about Batman, or anything that made me want to become the comic book reader that I am today, is because of Batman the Animated Series. Yes. I mean, I owned comic books before Batman the Animated Series, but this show, when it came out in September of '92, followed very closely by X-Men the Animated Series, also on Fox. I mean, that's when I went whole hog, because I'm being introduced to characters and concepts that I had never known before, because if they weren't in the 66, if they weren't in the 66 show, or they weren't in some coloring book that I got as a kid, there are characters that I was like, oh, that's a thing. Like, characters like Harvey Bullock. Never knew who Harvey Bullock was until this cartoon series, and I could just continue to count all the characters. That's like, this show was my introduction. And when I read comics, I still hear these voice actors, and I don't see that ever changing.
Oh no, Kevin Conroy is my fucking Batman voice. When I'm reading a Batman comic book, I hear his voice, and I mean, it's just, I don't think that's ever gonna change. Nah, it's Kevin Conroy. That's it. Come on. And the fact that he was like right out of Juilliard and he was like this stage actor. See, that's the thing, though. Another beautiful thing. I mean, talking about the voice talent. I mean, it's not like they just got like other people that just did voices for, animated. A lot of these people didn't do animated before they did all this.
No. And that goes to another one of those heroes that we always just think, probably Andrea Romano. I mean, you don't have the talent that you get for this show if you don't have Andrea Romano. And I didn't know she studied acting. She was a stage manager. She was an agent. And then she became a voice director. And once I heard that, I was like, oh, well, then she gets it. She understands. She understands performances. So when she gets Kevin Conroy and Ron Perlman and Richard Mall and Andrea Barbeau as Selena Kyle, or Helen Slater as Talia al Ghul, David Warner as Ra's al Ghul, like the names that I even know who they were as a kid, but then I grew up and went, oh,
yeah, I know. And then of course, I mean, the biggest one was of course Mark Hamill as Joker. And some people might not know that he wasn't the first choice for it either. I mean, it was supposed to be Tim Curry, and you could see that. I could see it. I mean, obviously, you can always refer to Pennywise when you did Pennywise, and I'm sure there was probably like a version of that. But apparently, I guess it wasn't. I don't know, it wasn't meshing well, even though they like recorded like 4 or 5 episodes or something like that.
It was a producer. There was like one producer on the show, because Andrea Romano, she was very professional. She didn't say who, but apparently there was one producer who just
did not like it.
Did not like Tim Curry. And so that was interesting, because I bet you I could probably identify those episodes, because there's about 2 or 3 episodes where even Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. isn't the voice of Alfred. if you watch and this is another thing we'll come back to, is what order to watch the episodes in. Is that there's 3 or 4 episodes where it's a different Alfred, and
he's really talks a little deeper or something like that. Yeah, you can know it's a noticeable difference. Yeah,
right. Yes, like he's got a cold or something. And then you get Ephraim Zimbalist Jr.
Yeah,
and I think those are probably the same episodes where because you record the voices first, you animate later.
Yeah.
And so for the 2 or 3 episodes that Tim Curry had already recorded, Mark Hamill had to go backwards and record 2 animation that had already been completed, and then they were able
to fit the style that had it. So he had to basically mimic Tim Curry, but also come up with his own Joker voice. That's not easy, folks. And it's funny too, because even Mark Hamill, when he before he got the gig, he wasn't going for Joker. He thought he would do another character. He was like thinking, "Oh, let me do one of the other characters that."
Well, he's already in the series as another character, because
in the Heart of Ice.
Yeah.
He's the dickhead boss. What's his name? I forgot. But who destroys the project and essentially creates Mr. Freeze. Yeah, that was Mark Hamill was already there. Some people don't know that. It's like, that's what, like episode 3 or something like that, I think.
Yeah, well, once again, depending on which order you're watching it in. Yeah, we are
talking about that. But no, it's just crazy how that works. Now, same thing. Now he's the definitive voice. So when I'm reading a Joker comic book, guess what? Whose voice am I hearing? Mark Hamill's. I mean, it's that laugh. It's insane.
And people either have to mimic him, or intentionally do something else. Because like Troy Baker is probably the best example of someone who just flat out goes for I'm mimicking. I am trying to do a Mark Hamill as Joker impersonation. So when he does it for Arkham Origins, or he's showing up, he's going to be Joker in the Long Halloween animated feature.
Yeah,
I'll be curious to see if he still is going for that Mark Hamill impersonation, or because Long Halloween is its own thing, is he going to
go a different route? Yeah, that should be interesting. But yeah, I mean, sometimes when you put on an animated one of the animated films, and you almost go, wait, is that Mark Hamill, or is that somebody trying to do Mark Hamill? What's going on with that? And then of course you check and you go, oh, it's not Mark Hamill, because you could kind of really, it's all about that laugh. I mean, that's what really defines his Joker. Is just when he just goes insane with that laugh. And it's so awesome to see when he's actually performing that, when he just transforms into that. Man, when you see those behind the scenes shots of him doing that, I always love seeing that stuff. And it's like, but yeah, he thought like, oh yeah, they're not going to give that to Luke Skywalker. That's how much Luke Skywalker was a little bit of a burden, I guess you could say, for Mark Hamill, as much as it, made him the name. But it was always, I think, when it came for him to try to get other work, it was always, they're not going to give that to Luke Skywalker. That's going to suck. The fact that role defined you, but then it was also, a little bit of a thorn in your side. But luckily not here.
No. And then there are other voice actors who came and went. There's some, like, Batgirl had 2 different voices, because we all think of Tara Strong. We always think of Tara Strong, but Melissa Gilbert had it first.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's kind of funny because Tara Strong ended up doing Harley Quinn. Who was the original Harley Quinn? Arlene
Sorkin.
There it is. Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize that too. Maybe that, it wasn't at first. It wasn't. Yeah. Tara Strong has done it, I guess. She's done it pretty much recently, right? When it comes to
she took over starting with Arkham City.
That's right.
Because Arlene Sorkin's final performance was in the first Arkham Asylum game.
That's what it was. Okay. But yeah, so it's just something. It's just kind of funny how Tara Strong's been very much a part of all this, but she kind of got, she got Batgirl after like you said, Melissa Gilbert, which if anybody knows who that is, she was in Little House on the Prairie. Anybody remember that show? Yes. She was one of the young daughters in Little House on the Prairie, if anybody remembers that.
Oh man. But once again, it was, I remember how Andrea Romano always characterized it. She said, we didn't cast a voice.
Yeah.
We cast a voice with character.
Yeah.
So a voice that was going to stand out. And that's why these voices become the voices we hear when we think of these characters, because that voice, they weren't putting on a voice. A lot of times that was just who that actor was, but we just now associate them with that character and those, Bruce Timm designs.
Yeah. And another thing too, like what they say in the documentary, and I think you see it throughout the series, is when each episode happens. I mean, yes, there's Batman-driven episodes, but there's if it's about a villain, it goes hard. I mean,
Yes.
Heart of Ice. I mean, that probably goes the hardest. Where to the fact where you like you're like crying at the end. You sympathize with Mr. Freeze when you see that last shot. Even I love that last shot because it shows the cell, the snowy cell, and it backs out and you see Batman looking in there, just like kind of a silhouette. You see his cape blowing in the wind because he kind of was sympathizing too with Mr. Freeze, even though they had to battle it out. That's how great the show is.
Well, that Two-Face, Clayface, all those episodes.
Can't wait to talk about those.
Because those are the ones that you go, okay, you were kind of already on the path, but then something horribly tragic happened to you, and then you just went down the wrong way. So when they get defeated, I will always remember there's the one that was, I think it was Harley's Holiday, where at the end where Batman like buys her the little sundress and he goes, "I had a bad day too once," and it's just like, like Batman's even in this series, Batman has a heart.
Yes, even though he's very dry. I mean, going back to that April Fool's, episode. I mean, even Alfred tries to joke around with him. He's like, "I drew you a bath, sir." And then he looks and there's no water in the tub. He goes, "I drew you a bath." And he holds up a drawing of a bathtub. And then it's just like, and even Alfred makes a joke that he's like, he just has no funny bone in his body at all until the very end where he says he's going to, when he was laughing hysterically and breaking all the freaking, the vases and furniture and stuff like that, he goes, "I'll just take it out of your paycheck." And, "Hey, Alfred, April Fools." It's just like, you're so dry. You're so dry. Conroy did it so well, though. That's how he nailed it. And even in that documentary, he talks about how trying to find, he goes, "No, it's Bruce is actually, Batman's who he is. His suit of armor is Bruce Wayne. So you got to find that." And I forgot what episode it is. There's literally an episode where Batman's down in the Batcave. I forgot what it is. Some doctor is calling him, and he immediately has to go from talking Batman to just be Bruce Wayne. He goes, "Hey, what's up, Doc?"
Yes,
in the costume. Yes, I forgot what episode it is. He just goes, "Hey, what's up, Doc?" He actually says it like that, and like but he's in the cave, he's in the costume, and it's just funny to see that, and I love that. I forgot what episode that was, though. We'll have to. Yeah, when we revisit it, we'll point it out again.
Yeah, because he's like, thanks for calling back. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, Alfred.
Exactly. There's just that's a perfect example of like of how Conroy really did the different Batman and the Bruce Wayne voice. And then of course, that Scarecrow episode where he goes, "I am the night. I am vengeance. I am the night. I mean, Jesus." Anytime I hear that.
Nothing to fear. It was the first Scarecrow episode. Yes. I remember that one because that was one of those episodes that the animation's a little off for me, and I did not like the first Scarecrow design. Because by the second Scarecrow episode, which was Fear of Victory, they adjusted his character design, and then that was the design they stayed with through that first order of like 85 episodes, and that was the design I really liked because that's the one where Robin gets doused.
Yes,
and I liked that one.
Yeah, that was the one with the football player, right?
The football player, yes, because he was sports betting.
Yeah, that's right.
That's because that was Crane's. Crane's chemicals are expensive.
See little lines like that.
They stick out. It's like It's been 29 years. I can still quote half these episodes.
I know, man. It's crazy. Okay, so speaking of episodes, so we have HBO Max, which is what I was kind of going by. I was like thinking, well, we could just follow HBO Max. But the weird thing about it is, and it threw me off too, is it starts off, and here's the song. It starts off with The Cat in the Claw, part 1, and which is weird to me.
Well, because, and this is the great debate people get into, is there are 2 orders to the episodes. there is production order, which means this is the order in which they made them. And then there's air order, which is the order in which they showed up on Fox Kids back in 92. So Cat and the Claw Part 1 and Part 2 were the first 2 episodes aired after Labor Day in 1992. And it makes sense because what just came out that summer? Batman Returns. So what did they start the show off with? A Catwoman episode. Even though every time you buy Batman the Animated Series, whether it was the DVDs or the Blu-ray, or you buy the digital box sets on like iTunes or Vudu, those are in production order. So what's the first episode you get? On Leather Wings.
Yeah.
Which was the first episode they made.
Yep. So here's the production list right here. So what do you think? Should we go production, or should we go what HBO Max has?
You know, I have a preference.
Okay.
I have always preferred production order, only because my box sets. I mean, like if I pop in my DVDs, basically if I do and when they were on DC Universe. They were in production order. It was only when it shifted to HBO Max that they went
broadcast order. Interesting.
Yeah, they went to air date order, which is fine. It makes it easier to organize it into the fact that there's only 3 seasons of the show, and even then, it's hard to call it a season because there weren't arcs.
Not really. There wasn't really arc, and then when Robin like starts coming in, it's like he's there, then he's not, then he's there, then he's not, until it came to season 2, and it was literally the adventures of Batman and Robin,
and that's when it became a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah,
because it went from being 4 in the afternoon to like 10 in the morning, and then what you got was, I think my affiliate still did reruns. It was like you got reruns all during the week, but Saturday was when you got the new episode. Yeah. Because I remember the first episode they did was Bane.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was jazzed for that because they're like, they're bringing in Bane.
Oh man. I remember watching that, and I'm like, because I read the Nightfall series. I know it was happening. And when you see like Bane lift him up and he puts his leg up, you're like, oh, are they gonna do it? Of course they don't. But I almost like leaped out of my wherever I was, my couch, whatever. I thought, are they gonna do it? Is he gonna break it? No.
This still has one of my favorite lines, though. He messed with my car, Alfred. Between 2 guys, that's personal.
Right, because he like literally like f's up his car with his bare hands. Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. So I vote for production order, also because when I started watching in production order, which of course was starting about 2004 when those first DVD box sets were coming out, it makes sense because you can actually watch the progression, like the weird voices, like teeter out.
Well, I mean, like with every animated show, I mean, look at The Simpsons, even watching like old South Park episodes, Family Guy, the animation is always like, when you go back to those first couple of, like that first season, animation is always like, oof, man, did that improve over time? I mean, it's not so much in this because it was a little bit of a short run, even though there's a lot of episodes. But yeah, you could tell like a little bit in the beginning that the animation wasn't quite where it ended up.
And the scripts, like there's some people forget there were some clunkers back in the day.
Oh, well, and we'll be talking about those for sure. But there's also just some like beautiful ones. I mean, like,
oh my God. And that's the weird thing. It was like, it was in the early days, it really was a crapshoot.
Yeah.
It especially, and you could always tell when it was going to be a good one because it was the one like when the rerun happened, you're like, oh, who cares? I'm still watching this one. And then there would be other ones you'd go, nah, I'll get started on my homework. It's fine.
Right. Oh no, don't worry, Jose. We'll also be doing a discussion on Mask of the Phantasm. I mean, come on.
And you don't do that first because that did not come out till Christmas of 1993.
Yeah, that's true. Now we're not gonna, like I said, we're doing this in order, and yeah, even though Mask of the Phantasm is technically, pretty much an origin story, we're gonna wait, and we'll fit it in there when it fits in there, definitely, because I mean, obviously, and it's so funny too when people rank their Batman films, man. I mean, Mask of the Phantasm is right up there. I mean, Jesus Christ, how could it not be?
It's still my number one. Like,
is it your number one? Wow,
it's my number one. If you let me put animation on the same level as live action, if you're saying what is your number one, like just pure Batman movie, it's Mask of the Phantasm.
Yeah, because I think if I had to do top three, it would be like Dark Knight, Batman '89, and Phantasm. But if I wanted to say like, well, if you had to pick one that was like definitively like, what would you say like what is like a perfect Batman origin or a Batman movie? I would be like Mask of the Phantasm because it just covers all the bases. I mean, even though you can like even make an argument for Batman Begins because it's the same, it's an origin story too. There's just something about Mask of the Phantasm and the fact that there's like this villain that you really never even heard of before, and it's in one of the best Batman. There we go. I was wondering when are you going to bring out the Phantasm. Look, I got to get that pop. Gotta get it.
I only own 2 animated series pops. One I got from the Funko box they used to do, and the exclusive was Mr. Freeze.
Wow, look at that.
The only one that I went out personally to buy was the Phantasm because of how much I love that movie.
Oh my God, man. Yeah. So we'll definitely be reviewing that, but we're not going to watch that first, Jose. We're not going to watch that first. We'll fit it in there. And then there's also the Mr. Freeze animated movie too. What was that one called again?
Sub-Zero.
Sub-Zero. That's right.
And that was an interesting one because it got delayed by an entire year.
Yeah. It was
because of the box office bomb that Batman and Robin was. Because it's actually, if you look at the first 2 seasons, which are done in that traditional animated series style, Sub-Zero is kind of a finale because that's when they take the break. You get Superman, the animated series, and then Batman gets reintroduced in World's Finest Part 1 through 3, and then they start the 3rd and final season, which was called The New Batman Adventures, where you get Batman, it's a 2-year time jump. They're in that more simplified Superman, the animated series style. And it was funny because those episodes started airing before the Sub-Zero movie even came out. And there's a Mr. Freeze episode in that season that literally they reference Sub-Zero. So they were referencing a movie that hadn't been released yet.
Damn. Crazy. Yeah, so I think we'll go over that one too. And then, we'll see where this goes. I mean, there's a lot of episodes to do. That's for sure. That's what I'm looking forward to the most. But like I said, if you guys pass up that intro, which we're going to talk about that right now, which like we were talking about before, this is the pitch or, that pitch that we saw. I mean, this is where this all came from. I mean, just to see the Warner Animation logo turn into that. I mean, come on.
Well, and it's kind of fun because it's kind of something that's, it's a tradition of the logo turning into things. Like it was just going back to the whole mini movie idea. I mean, think about the old Burt movies. And going into the Schumacher movies, they would warp into
a bat,
into a bat symbol. Yeah. And then like with the Snyder films, how it would be incorporated into the design, like when it was like the Krypton geometal, or how they work it into the movie. And so the animated series was doing that too, and you get that great score, and it's all shadows.
I know. See, I mean, it's just the fact that you just see their eyes and their chin and their nose
and those fedoras, because we are permanently in the 40s. We have computers, we have phones, but we all look like we never got out of the 40s.
I know. It's like you have these guys in trench coats and just the way they look right there. And then all of a sudden you see this awesome Batmobile. Just like, wait a minute. I mean, this shot right here of the Batmobile, my God, look at that thing, man.
My only criticism ever was, dang, that front end was long.
I know it didn't seem like it made any sense at all, but it looked so cool. That's God.
Especially the back end. The back end of that car is still the definitive, like, this ranks up there with great, like that shot
Yeah.
That shot right there is like, that's a car. And I remember when we got the first look at Pattinson's Batmobile for the Batman, it looked like that. I was sitting there looking at that car going,
yeah, when you see the plume shoot out, you're like, wow, yes. Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like, hey, the Batman, is something going on where you're over, doing it for some strange reason? Is that why your Batmobile so long? I hear, huh? No, of course it's Batman. What are you talking about? And then, what I always found funny too, and I always would make a joke about, is the fact that, man, these guys can run.
Yes,
they're like, I mean, like the freaking cop cars can't. I mean, the cop cars cannot catch up to these guys. And then when it gets right here, like the cop car is like right there, man, they're already up.
And then of course this is the first the red sky. I mean,
nothing says
you knew you were in Gotham if the sky was red.
Exactly. And I love the fact that, I mean, you could tell that Matt Reeves again is taken heavily, like he is looking at this because he's using a lot of red for his too. And a lot of people made that correlation and was like, man, is Matt Reeves kind of looking at the animated series? Has he been looking at that? I'm thinking that he definitely is, because, and then like you mentioned before, it's like we're in the 40s, but it is current day. And that's what I always loved about it. And anytime that I would talk about it, comparing it to the Superman, the animated series, it's like, yeah, when you were in Metropolis, that seemed like it was future. Like you went to the future, but you're in Gotham, you felt like you were in the past, even though Batman has like this cave with like a big, huge computer and and all that stuff. But just everything was so, that deco type, the way it was back in the 40s. And I don't know. That's what I absolutely loved about the style of this.
But just look at this. Like, once again, they talked about how they used noir, they used deco, they talked about German expressionism. I mean, look at that. Nothing about that is realistic, but it gives you a feeling.
And then just the eyes right there. And then the way that, I mean, you want to talk about the ultimate superhero landing? That's it.
That is it. And you know what I love about his design is that the cape always like enveloped him. Like when he stood up, I always loved how he had like pushed the cape aside because it just folded completely around him like that.
And then that, just that close up with the eyes.
Or that just said, you are so screwed.
Yeah, just to let you guys know that what you guys did. Well, you ain't getting away with it. But but yeah, like you said, the cape. I mean, I almost think. I mean, I remember. I mean, even like going to Batman vs Superman when he jumps down and grabs that dude. I mean, it has this kind of feel. Of course, he swoops back up, but I almost felt like Snyder was trying to emulate that right there a little bit, because even you even see his cape just kind of form around him as he shoots back up. And I'm telling you, I mean, I'm thinking he had some inspiration just from that shot right there. Even with the shadow too, that shadow. There's so many shadows that when it comes to this series, that man, it's just so good.
And they were so long, like they would stretch out for days.
Yes, they would. Man, Gotham City they just captured that noir. And then, of course, throwing the Batarang and just leaping. And all you see is eyes. You don't even see his face. I just love that.
And I love the fact that when they colored it, it was like that blue-black. Like it wasn't all blue like, traditional Batman. But there was all that black. So it worked with the shadows, but you had the blue highlights to go, no, his costume's blue. But it's so dark, you're not really sure.
Yeah, it's like a navy blue. And then it is kind of funny because like season 2, then they kind of went to the whole black and gray and, kind of changed it a little bit. Why exactly did they, when they decided to do Batman and Robin, they kind of just, the animation, it's a noticeable change. Do you have any info on that?
Well, the black and gray really didn't happen until season 3 when the post Superman, when they really simplified him down.
It was season 3, never mind.
It was season 3. Yeah, that's season 2 is still that style. I think the idea is that you get rid of the oval. Once again, they continue to give the animators less to have to draw. Like it was even straighter lines. It was, we get rid of the yellow oval, so it's just the bat on the chest. And once again, it was mimicking that Superman style.
Yeah. And then you just get that punch, the shadow, and then the cops show up and they're like, what? what happened? And then this pan up
this
right there with the
shot.
music. It's just, I mean, oh my God. Of course that came up, but yeah. Just going from the shadow where you can only see his eyes to just it getting lit up like that. My God. That's why I asked Alessandro, I'm like, can you draw us like that? And he did. And and going back to what you were saying too, they didn't want to put the title right here because it's like, you know who that is.
Like my 5-year-old knows who that is. Like you if a 5-year-old knows who that is, you don't need a title. And as they point out, like that's a painting. Yeah. Why would you cover that up with anything? Like you don't need to. You know it's Batman. And so it's, and I hate that they got away from that, like, because with like the Adventures of Batman and Robin, they made like a clip intro. Yeah. The closest they came was when they did the Batman Superman hour, and they did a different intro for that. At least it had some style to it. But even then, it's like nothing beats. Like I on the volume 4 DVDs, which is technically season 3, you could even play the episodes. If you hit play all, they even gave you the option of, okay, which opening sequence do you want to watch it with?
That's awesome.
I'm like, OG. No, sorry.
You want the OG. Yeah, I know. Yeah, because when it goes to Batman and Robin, yeah, like you said, it's more of a clip. It's just like a reel of, of episodes with Robin that were in the previous season. It's like, oh, yeah, I remember that episode. Oh, that episode. Yeah, that's where Robin. Yeah.
Well, because there were only a handful of it. It was basically like Robin's Reckoning, Demon's Quest. Like you could start naming the episodes. Robin's Reckoning,
yeah. It's like you could totally tell, like, yeah, it was like, let's go with the OG. It's almost disappointing. Like that intro, I wouldn't. If you decide to skip that one, that's fine. But it's that OG intro that we refuse to skip intro on that. So definitely don't do that. But yeah, man. I know we could probably talk about this like forever, but I'm guessing that when it comes to like breaking down the episodes, they'll probably be we'll shoot for like an hour, I guess you say,
I think
guys.
An hour is good. I think that would respect their time. It's a 25 minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it'll be a good in out. And if we keep ourselves to an hour, everyone will know, how long, like what to expect. Exactly. We'll talk for an hour. We'll be good.
Exactly. No, I think it'll work good like that. And like I said, we're going to go with production order. So next week will be, of course, the way that it's supposed to be, because like I said, it's just weird to start off with the Cat in the Claw at first. It was kind of jarring when I put it on. I was like, wait a minute. I even went back into the menu. I'm like, this is not the first episode. Something's not. I'm supposed to be hearing a squealing, huge bat. What the hell's going on with this? It just threw me off.
Yeah, because you're supposed to hear the trombone, because you got those trombones for the On Leather Wings one. Yes,
so good. Yeah, because with production order, the Cat in the Claw is not until episode 15. So yeah, it was weird. I literally thought, did I just click something wrong? And I went back into my menu on HBO Max and
that's when I have to jump in and go, no, guys, they didn't screw up. No. They just chose a different order. That's all that is to it.
Broadcast, yeah. So next week we're gonna start off with On Leather Wings, and I'll post these. I'll be posting the stream probably like a day or two ahead of time, so then we know, we'll let everybody know exactly which one to watch. And so then you guys can go watch it, and then we'll talk about it. We'll incorporate more of the chat in there too. And we'll do some kind of, I don't know, question thing or something like that. But, tonight's episode was just talking about the series, talk about our love, our man boners for it. And, the fact that we can't stand up. We can't stand up right now. It's going to be a little bit, guys. No, but, it was just basically an introduction, and then of course going over the iconic intro and just kind of talking about the backstory. But like I said, I recommend just go to Warner Brothers or just type in Batman the Animated Series, The Heart of Batman documentary. They actually live streamed it, which was interesting last year, and highly suggest watching because it's an hour and 39 minutes. Yeah. Hour and 39.
Yeah, it's a serious piece. Yeah. And by the way, if you own it on Blu-ray, it's actually on the bonus disc. So because I think it was originally produced for the Blu-ray box set, because the Blu-ray box set, when they remastered all the episodes in HD, it was released on the 25th anniversary.
There you go. So if you have that, you can also watch it on there. It's highly recommended because, yeah, like I said, they go in deep with it, and you see all the players that come together and just like and get that book. I need to get that book. I'm gonna try to look for that. What's it called again?
Oh yeah. So okay, it's Batman Animated by Paul Dini and Chip Kidd. It is just beautiful. I mean, storyboards, because it's a Chip Kidd book. I mean, the text is there, but let's be honest, there's a lot of pretty pictures, and there's a lot of like poster fold out pages. There's even art from like the comic book, because like, remember Mad Love was originally a comic book story before it became an episode of the show. And something that's going to be really helpful for us is that there's a complete episode guide in the back of this, that it has it in air date order, but it also acknowledges episodes that were actually adapted from specific isses of the comic.
Ooh, there you go. See, I was kind of wondering about that. Yeah, I'm definitely going to get that. And if anybody's watching this late, I'm going to find the link tonight, and I'll post it underneath in the description. So if you're watching not live, I'll post it in the description. So if you want to grab that, and then I'll post it on Twitter too and everything. So I'm glad you had that. I mean, I knew you would. Anything else? Is anything else that you had ready to go before? There it is. Yes.
little Dorbs, Batman and Batmobile. This also came in the there was a Funko Legion of Collectors box that was strictly animated series. So it came with this cute little guy and the Mr. Freeze pop.
That's awesome.
But the only thing I can't show you is I do have an art print that is done in the animated series style. That's hanging on my wall, that is autographed by Kevin Conroy.
What? This guy,
yeah,
man, that's got.
I told you, I'm a fan, man. I'm a fan.
That's why we're doing this, dude. And then one of the biggest things too is like the fact that Kevin Smith kind of got us all excited again, saying there might be a revival.
And that's a weird place where I really do believe in the law of diminishing returns, because it's like, it could be like, you have to do it well.
Yeah.
And the problem is that the chances of doing it well.
True. I know. When you put it like that, yeah. I mean, as much as because I thought when the DC Universe app came out, I thought, why don't they just do like a Batman the Animated Series revival to like get people on board with this thing? That was my whole thinking of it when it came out. What was it, like 2 years ago, something like that, or a year? Yeah. And I thought, why don't they just do that? And now we're hearing that there might be a Batman revival. And as much as I'm like, excited for it, but then I'm kind of going, oh, but there's something going to be lost about it? Is it, now that it's almost 30 years later, is there something that, I mean, as much as they can update, I mean, they're going to update the animation, but have it keep that Bruce Timm style.
The problem that I always run into is the fact that since this is already part of this amazing connected universe that continues on through Superman, Batman Beyond, Justice League Unlimited, Static Shock, like, the problem is that if you want to do new episodes, you either have to kind of break continuity, or you have to find little pockets where there's still stories you can tell, where you can kind of drop it in. Because if it doesn't fit in the continuity, then it's like, then you're just making extra episodes for extra episodes' sake, and it'll always kind of be an Elseworlds thing. And do I want that? Do I want something that actually like fits into this giant universe that already exists? I think that's why I'm of two minds of the idea.
Yeah, I mean, and then there's also too, I mean, this is 30 years later. I mean, how old is Kevin Conroy now? I mean, like, you're gonna probably feel the age in his voice a little bit.
You're gonna feel the age in his voice, and so many characters, their actors have passed away.
Yeah. That's the one thing I was at that was in the back of my mind. It's like, you're gonna probably start feeling like that, and then they're gonna try to, whatever actors that have passed away, they're gonna try to they're gonna get some kind of voice actor to try to emulate maybe their voice. I don't know exactly how they're gonna approach that, but I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, though the hardest one is the fact that Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. has passed away. It's like,
Who did he play again?
He was Alfred.
Hmm.
So I mean, Alfred's gone, Gordon's gone, Mr. Freeze is gone. No, what you could do, and this is what I would recommend, if Warner Brothers Animation gave a crap what I thought,
right.
I would write it in a period of time where those like Freeze, based on the way his character played out in the series, that's not an issue. No. But you could write the show in a period of time where legitimately Alfred and Gordon are already, like, their characters are already past.
Yeah,
so you never have to recast. You just slide it in this time period, because you do have about a 15-20 year gap between Batman and Batman Beyond.
I was about to say, like, do like an in-between. That could be a way to go. Yeah, not bad.
And that way the voice wouldn't bother you, because then it would actually be accurate.
Yeah, it's like he is older now. I guess we'll see what happens with it. I mean, I'll watch it regardless, because, you throw something Batman at me,
I'm going to watch it.
But I mean,
and Batman's other Batman animated series that I didn't give a chance when they came out, because I had some Batman the Animated Series elitism in me, which I am perfectly guilty of. I've gone back and watched and gone, this isn't like the Batman or Batman Brave and the Bold.
Yes.
Like, I had to catch up on those in home video because I didn't give them a chance. And then I go and watch them and go, oh, these are good. I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing wrong. But there's just something about the animated series that's going to hold a special place in our hearts. And that's why, when something new comes about, you're automatically going like, it's not going to be as good. It's not going to be, you start second guessing it a little bit.
Yeah.
But you got to, and I mean, there's different interpretations. That's what's so great about the characters. You can have that. But Batman the Animated Series is the best, guys.
Yes, it is.
And we're going to be going over all those episodes, and we're going to have some fun doing it. I'm looking forward to it, man, and I appreciate it. Like I said, when I thought about it, I was like, you were the first one that was like, let's do this, Scott. And you immediately said, fuck, yes. We are doing it. And everybody's coming along. And like I said, we'll do something. Maybe we'll have like an open question thing at the end of each episode, and we'll just be discussing them. And like I said, we're gonna go production order, so definitely watch On Leather Wings, and we'll be talking about it next Saturday. And we appreciate you guys sticking with us. Go ahead and send us off, Scott.
Well, of course, you can find me on Twitter at ScottDC27. You can listen to me every week at my podcast, DC Film Squadcast, wherever podcasts can be found. We're also on Vero, Facebook, YouTube, and you can find the entire network of shows at squadcastmedia.com.
There it is. All right, guys, make sure you hit that like, thumbs up before you leave. If you want to join Film Junkie, hit the join button, or if you want to join the Patreon, go ahead and do that too. And then there's also merchandise down below, and this is great.
Hey, look at us. Huh? Who would have thought? Not me.
So good. And yes, for people that were in the chat still, yes, we still
can't see the numbers.
Well, I know we're still waiting on those numbers, but we'll get there. Anyways, guys, appreciate you joining, and thank you, Scott. And we'll see you next week on Batman the Fan-imated stream. Catch you guys later.